Ethan had always been a man of routine. Wake up, go to work at the dull office downtown, come home, eat dinner, and watch the same shows on TV. His life felt like a string of predictable days, each one indistinguishable from the last. He often wondered if this was all life had to offer. The dreams he once had of being a writer, of traveling, and of making a difference had long been buried under piles of paperwork and mundane responsibilities. One rainy Thursday evening, everything changed. As Ethan left the office, the rain poured harder, drenching the city streets. He ducked into a small bookstore he'd never noticed before, the glowing sign above the door reading, "The Turning Page." The scent of old paper and coffee filled the air, a stark contrast to the cold drizzle outside. While browsing, Ethan's eyes fell on a leather-bound journal with gold lettering, "Your Story, Your Way." Intrigued, he picked it up and flipped through its blank pages. At the back of the journal was a small note. "Your story begins when you decide to write it. What will your next chapter say?" The words hit Ethan like a thunderbolt. He purchased the journal and walked home in a daze, the rain forgotten. That night, Ethan opened the journal and wrote, "If I could change one thing about my life, it would be everything." The sentence stared back at him, challenging him. For hours, he wrote about his forgotten dreams, the life he wanted, and the fear that held him back. When he finally closed the journal, he felt a flicker of something he hadn't felt in years, hope. The next morning, Ethan made a decision. He called in sick to work and spent the day walking around the city, thinking about what truly mattered to him. As he sat in a park, watching children play and dogs chase frisbees, an idea began to form. What if he didn't have to live the life he'd always known? What if he could rewrite his story? Over the next few weeks, Ethan made small but significant changes. He dusted off an old laptop and began writing again, staying up late to craft short stories and poems. He joined a local writers group, meeting people who shared his passion and encouraged him to keep going. One day, a member of the group suggested submitting his stories to a contest. To his surprise, he won first place, and his story was published in a local magazine. That moment was the tipping point. Ethan began saving money and making plans to leave his office job. He downsized his lifestyle, trading fancy dinners and gadgets for simplicity and freedom. A year later, he left the city for a quiet coastal town, where he could focus on writing full-time. As he sat in his new home, overlooking the ocean, Ethan opened the journal again. "Today, I wrote the chapter where I chose to live for myself. Tomorrow, I will write the chapter where I inspire others to do the same." Ethan's story didn't end there. His books became bestsellers, resonating with readers around the world. But more importantly, he found a sense of fulfillment he never thought possible. Every day, he woke up knowing that he had rewritten his life, and that anyone else could do the same. Ethan's success didn't come without challenges. Moving to the coastal town had been an escape, but it also meant starting fresh with no safety net. There were days when doubt crept in, whispering that he'd made a mistake leaving the security of his old life. But each time that doubt surfaced, Ethan reminded himself why he had made the leap. He kept writing, pouring his fears, dreams, and lessons into his stories. His words began to inspire not just readers but also the local community. One day, Ethan received an email from a young woman named Clara. She wrote, "Your book, Rewriting Life, gave me the courage to leave a toxic job and pursue my dream of opening an art studio. Thank you for showing me that it's never too late to start over." Ethan read the email twice, tears welling in his eyes. Clara's words reminded him of the note he had found in the back of that journal years ago. It felt like his journey had come full circle. He had gone from needing inspiration to being the one inspiring others. The emails kept coming. A man who left his corporate job to start a nonprofit. A single mother who went back to school. A retiree who picked up painting after decades of neglecting her passion. Ethan decided to do more than just write. He began hosting workshops in his town, helping others explore their dreams and find the courage to pursue them. These gatherings became a beacon for people seeking change, and Ethan's coastal town started attracting visitors from all over who wanted to rewrite their own stories. One afternoon, as he packed up after a workshop, Ethan noticed a familiar figure in the back of the room. It was the owner of the Turning Page, the bookstore where he'd found the journal that changed his life. The elderly man approached him with a warm smile. "I always knew you'd do something special with your story," he said. "That journal has found its way to many people, but you've used it to light a fire for others. That's rare." Ethan smiled, his heart full. "That journal saved me," he said. "And now, it feels like it's saving others through the stories I tell." Years later, Ethan's legacy extended far beyond books and workshops. He established a foundation dedicated to helping individuals break free from unfulfilling paths and embrace their true potential. Sitting in his writing room one evening, Ethan opened the journal once more. The pages were now filled with his journey, scribbled dreams, fears, victories, and lessons. On the final page, he wrote, "I didn't just rewrite my story. I discovered that we all have the power to create a life worth living. The only question is, when will you begin?" With that, he closed the journal, content in knowing that his life had become the story he always dreamed of telling. Though Ethan believed his journey had reached a satisfying conclusion, life had more unexpected chapters in store. One evening, after a particularly moving workshop, Ethan sat by the ocean, reflecting on how far he had come. The waves crashed against the rocks, a rhythm that mirrored his thoughts. A young woman approached him, hesitant but determined. "Are you Ethan Cole?" she asked, clutching a worn copy of Rewriting Life. He nodded, smiling warmly. "I am. How can I help you?" Her eyes welled with tears. "Your book, it saved me. I was lost, stuck in a life that didn't feel like mine. Because of you, I quit my job and followed my dream to start a youth outreach program. I've been wanting to thank you in person." Ethan's chest tightened with emotion. "You have no idea how much that means to me," he said. They talked for hours, the young woman sharing stories of the lives she had touched through her program. It was a profound reminder for Ethan that the ripple effect of his decision to change his own life continued to spread, inspiring others to find their purpose. As years passed, Ethan's influence only grew. He began traveling to different cities, sharing his story with larger audiences. Despite the accolades and recognition, he remained humble, always reminding himself that it had all started with a simple decision, to pick up a journal and write his truth. During one of his speaking tours, Ethan revisited his old city. The gray streets and towering office buildings felt both familiar and distant. Out of curiosity, he walked by his former workplace. Peering into the glass doors, he saw younger versions of himself, men and women shuffling papers, staring blankly at computer screens. For a brief moment, he felt a pang of sadness. He wished he could tell them what he had learned. Life isn't meant to be endured, it's meant to be lived. In his final years, Ethan retired to his beloved coastal town, where he spent his days writing memoirs, mentoring aspiring authors, and watching sunsets with a peaceful heart. His foundation flourished, helping thousands of people reclaim their stories. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Ethan sat on his porch, journal in hand. The breeze carried the scent of salt and possibility. He opened to a fresh page and wrote, "Even the smallest decision can change the trajectory of your life. One moment of courage can rewrite not only your story but countless others as well." He set the pen down, looking out at the endless ocean. Ethan's life had become more than a story, it was a testament to the power of hope, choice, and resilience. And as the waves whispered against the shore, he felt a deep sense of gratitude for the moment that had changed everything.